Okay. I get it, but hear me out. I think Larian is a great studio, and I think Baldur's Gate 3 is a great game. But if we can't paint an accurate picture of how we got Baldur's Gate 3 in the first place, we'll never get another one. Gamers have been filleting Larian Studios for delivering such an incredible game. But really, gamers should be filleting themselves, because they made Baldur's Gate 3 possible. What do I mean by that? Well, to answer that question, we need to go back to October 2020, when Baldur's Gate 3 launched into early access. In 2020, Baldur's Gate 3 launched into early access for $59.99, and within a week, it had sold over 1 million copies on just Steam alone. It ended up selling over 2.5 million copies by the time it was actually released. And that's easy to say, but I need you to really grasp how many people that is. 2.5 million people willing to give Larian the money up front and wait. Correction, they didn't just wait, they played. They played and provided constructive criticism, telling Larian what worked and what didn't work over the course of 3 years. And with that insane upfront player investment and feedback, Larian was able to deliver Baldur's Gate 3. Now, my question to you is, how easy do you think it is to correctly give people what they want based on your own thoughts and feelings versus simply responding to player feedback? I'd say it's a lot easier to just respond to feedback. I'd say that it's so much easier that any major studio could deliver a Baldur's Gate 3 level project with 2.5 million players worth of sales and feedback 3 years prior to release. And you might respond by saying that Larian has earned this goodwill from their players. But have they? Let's look at their previous projects to see if there's a pattern. Divinity Original Sin 2. Fantastic game. I actually like it a lot more than Baldur's Gate 3. That game raised $2 million on Kickstarter and had a year of early access prior to release. Divinity Original Sin 1. Also a fantastic game. But that game also raised $1 million on Kickstarter to help with development. Spin has even admitted that the game before that, Divinity Dragon Commander, was actually just used to raise money for Original Sin. Larian seems to be incapable of delivering the level of quality that they're known for without pre-investment from their fans. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's kind of like being a Nepo baby. It's okay to use your connections to succeed, but don't turn around and act like you earned your spot on your own.
The author told me that the game of the year 2025 was going to be made by a studio who found the formula to make it up here on stage. It's stupidly simple, but somehow it keeps on getting lost. Studio made their game because they wanted to make a game that they wanted to play themselves. They created it because it hadn't been created before. They didn't make it to increase market share. They didn't make it to serve as a brand. They didn't have to meet arbitrary sales targets or fear being laid off if they didn't meet those targets. And furthermore, the people in charge forbade them from cramming the game with anything whose only purpose was to increase revenue and didn't serve the game designs. They knew that if you put the game and the team first, the revenue will follow. They understood the value of respect, that if they treated their developers and players well, those same developers and players would forgive them when things didn't go as planned.
Larian has been repeating their formula in a loop for over a decade, so they have the recipe backwards. The money and support actually precedes delivery of the product, not the other way around. Spin probably just got confused. I'm sure he's not full of shit or anything. And even after these games leave early access, the parts of the game that weren't in the early access build tend to be much more buggy and unfinished. Just ask anybody about the launch state of the third act in Baldur's Gate 3. They literally cannot deliver the same level of quality without player feedback, so it makes sense to include player involvement in Larian's recipe for success. And when we try to hold Larian up as a shining example of what a studio should be, we have to include the fans in that conversation as well. Compare Larian's fan base that's ready to show up time and time again to help Larian build the game that they want to Bioware's fan base that's seemingly ready to tear the studio to shreds over any misstep. If these two groups kept the same energy, perhaps they could get similar results. I think that pretending that Larian is just built different is counterproductive in our pursuit to get the best games possible. If we want more games like Baldur's Gate 3, we have to follow Larian's recipe, and a supportive fan base is the key ingredient. Now, I'm not saying that you automatically owe every game developer a bit of grace, but that bit of grace truly is the difference between the good stories that we know of and the bad ones. Larian isn't just a better studio, they have better fans. Well, that's all I have for today. And now that I have successfully knocked Larian off their high horse, let me turn my attention to Bioware in light of Anthem's sunsetting. Bioware is my favorite developer. I've genuinely enjoyed every aspect of every game they've released, except for the combat and origins. The only thing that I don't like about Bioware is how quickly they give up. It's almost like they release a game, and if they can't get their internet bully to kiss them on the mouth, they just throw their hands up and say, fuck it. How about this, Bioware? Instead of letting a bunch of YouTubers that have absolutely no idea what they're talking about control the conversation, why don't you keep your head down, listen to your supporters, and keep cooking? None of your controversial releases are beyond redemption. Anthem truly, honestly, just needed more content. The old Bioware would have released 30 DLCs to flesh things out. Half the stuff that people like about Origins wasn't even in the base game. Get your shit together, Bioware. You're a good developer, you make good games, I believe in you. Believe in yourself. Okay, that's truly all I have for today. What studio do you think deserves Larian levels of support? Let's talk about it in the comments. Like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching.